the haunted theremin of Carolina Pink. Reaper. The Reaper, yeah. Theremin is an awesome instrument, honestly. I also have the whole thing. Or not, like the scary music is just like the map is like. No, it's like one of the things I was like thinking the other day was like, what if we do like a scary sounds like stream? That doesn't make sense. Maybe I'd be like a scary music critic. I don't know. wonder if there's like. It's like actually. See, yeah, I should. Okay, let's see. Is there like a button to like? Did they take it out? I swear there's a button to like look at or like place on your monkeys or something. Yeah, no, I gotta position everything on. Maybe like right here. Go, yeah, it went down, huh? You know what? Maybe I shouldn't just like 1-1. Buy it. Before getting the scam. like, you know, Cinderella. And it's indirect. Like this is really just like Activision happened. It's just so like an IP did it. Ross is just like obviously, the strategy here is just like we wasted a lot of selling the guy. Double shuriken upgrade. No, wrong. I think we're better. What does it over? That's like around there. I think. Playing music really does give you, in the background when you play games, really does give you a sense of how much time you lose when gaming. How would I just search now? Because I've been putting fucking Ace into me. I'm like, why is Ace into me? Yeah, I've been watching that. Maybe I'll like hold off on uploading the stream for like a year or something and upload it next month. Not this month. first round that killed me. So round 31, right? No, round 31 is one of the rounds. Even though it's so early on. Now we know that's not possible, so what do we do now? Done, because it's gonna keep on repeating, right? If I remember, this theme is not scary. Use theme, oh my god. You're wondering, who the fuck is Gigu? Or Gaigu? Final boss, another one. Listen to that? Hell no, right? This one isn't scary. This is just. Well, what's this one? This one's cracking me. Almost like every somebody dance, so it's like vibrating almost like the buzz from a notification, like the buzz. Put on the Song of Healing. Is it like a clock tower and like what was it? Dictionary? Like, like that was supposed to be the. I don't know. Like in my head, it's just like the. Oh yeah, I'm just playing the game. It's fun. This is like one serious story. Wait, multiple like it's like three. And I think I'm gonna go
I live in Branson, Missouri, and not far from my house is an abandoned theme park called Celebration City. It's been abandoned for over a decade now, having closed in 2008. It was themed after America in the 20th century.
Way too loud.
It was opened in the afternoon into the evening, with each operating day closing out with a laser and fireworks display. The park featured many rides, shows, and attractions, and its operating season ran from May until mid-September. I had been there several times with my family as a kid, and when it closed down, we were
I
all
didn't change the
definitely sad.
Elgato audio at all.
They tore down most, if not all, of the roller coasters before
Holy
closing.
shit.
But even still, to this day, most of the buildings still stand, and it's a little known fact that it's kind of a very cool place to explore now, low-key. My friend, who I'll call Calvin, was very on board with my idea of going to check it out. I asked him because he's a family friend, and our families had been to the park together in the past. We drove over and parked in the Steak and Shake parking lot across the street, since the parking lot to the theme park had obviously been closed off for a very long time. It was around 7 p.m. The sun was setting. We didn't want to go in broad daylight in fear of getting caught or running into other people. We brought a couple heavy-duty flashlights for when it would get dark. In the meantime, we could see just fine at first. We jogged across the street when no one was looking, as we didn't want to be obvious about trespassing in the park. When no cars were coming, we cut into the grass and into the trees surrounding the property of the park. It was surprisingly easy to sneak into the park. In fact, it didn't even really feel like we were sneaking in at all. Not that I'm encouraging anyone to trespass. Seeing all the old buildings and attractions I remembered from when I was a kid still standing in this now cold and empty setting was so eerie. It's like a part of my childhood was dead. One thing was for sure though, we were the only people in this place. No other sounds but the crickets. We couldn't even hear the traffic from outside. As we walked around, we realized so much was left behind. It was clear that people had been here since it closed because of writings and occasional graffiti on the wall. But lots of props and such were still in place or behind the glass in buildings. Some of the buildings had broken glass though, indicating people had broken in and explored some of them. As it got darker, we decided to crawl in through one of these windows to one of the buildings.
So
Inside, we realized it was the diner once called Last Chance Diner. It was dark inside, and admittedly creepy. The front door was closed, locked, and covered. There were oddly planks of wood and I guess other random debris and objects laying all around the dining space. The best I could describe it, it seemed like it was being used for storage. Like things from outside were brought into there. Calvin was checking out the other side of the place. I yelled to him I'm checking out the bathroom. Then I proceeded to one of the bathrooms. There was a different smell in here, not possible to explain, but there were 3 stalls in here, and as soon as I got in there was a sound from one of them, like something really small being dropped to the floor. I said, hello? I had my flashlight on in this pitch black room. All 3 stall doors were closed, but something made a noise in there. I held the bathroom door open with my foot, then got on my knees, and aimed the flashlight below one of the stalls, and I saw a pair of shoes and legs.
Yikes.
Gasped and jumped, and looked under the other 2 stalls.
If I was them, I would
the
just run away.
thing. There were 3 pairs of shoes and legs visible under the stall doors, and one of them began to move as if they were getting down on their knees to look under the stall door, but I didn't stick around long enough to see their face. I was already out of the bathroom yelling for Calvin to leave. I climbed back out through the window, and he followed me, not asking questions till we were out and away from that building. I told him about the 3 people in the stalls. He made a joke that they were taking a shit, but I knew that meant he didn't entirely believe me. I told him one of them was about to look under the stall, and I tried to explain the bizarre sight better to him. His expression changed to a more freaked out look. We clearly weren't alone there, and if those were just 3 friendly people also there exploring, but just using the bathroom, I feel like they would have said something as I came in, or definitely after I said hello in there. By the time we were out of the park and back to the car, it was pretty much pitch black out. We haven't returned there since. I don't have an explanation for what I saw. It was scary and weird, and definitely switched the mood of what was otherwise a fun day.
Yeah. Oh my god, what's the next story? Right here.
I'm a 30-year-old woman living alone in a mid to lower income area. There's some crime in my town, but I don't live in a ghetto. Still, sometimes I do feel a little uncomfortable. I don't know a lot of my neighbors too well, other than my next door neighbors, who are both nice. The houses across the street are a different story.
I don't care.
I like knowing my neighbors because it makes me feel a little safer living alone. I'm a big scaredy cat, so my biggest fears of living alone came true. And one night, I was in bed trying to fall asleep. It was pretty late on a work night, past 11.
Lame.
I heard the leaves slightly crunching on the side of the house. Human or not, I couldn't tell. There are a lot of cats and raccoons walking around here at night. The following night, I was awoken to something outside my window, like a singular crack or tap. It must have been the window frame. It was October, so I still had the windows open for air. So I guess out of pure instincts, I said, "Who's there?" I didn't hear anything after that. I got up and lifted my blind, and no one was outside. 2 nights in a row of this. I was starting to think I was getting paranoid over the smallest things, like regular house noises. So I tried to fall back asleep, but that same night, I woke up again. This time to some scratching or scraping sound from the backyard. I heard it through the window. I got up from my bed and went out to the little living space by the back door. I heard the clicking louder now. It was right outside the sliding door.
It's almost like it's making like a shape or a letter.
And then the sound stopped.
Yeah, I see like a...
I went over to the sliding door, which is covered by a sliding curtain. I was so scared to pull it, expecting to see something.
Not backwards, you know, like
I yanked it open like a band-aid. No one was there. I flicked on the backyard light and slid open the door. I was relieved to see no one out there, including raccoons or some other pests. I listened to the crickets for a minute, then heard something in my tiny yard. Something rustling in the bush. I looked at the bushes. They're too thick to really see anything, but they're definitely a good place for someone to hide. And if that sound wasn't a raccoon or possum, I didn't want to know what it was. I went back inside. I made sure everything was locked.
Raccoon?
I went back to my room and even locked my bedroom door. After about 10 minutes of laying in my bed, there was a knock at my front door this time. I was starting to freak out now. I ignored it and stayed in my bed. No one should be knocking this late at night. If it happened again, I'd call 911. It didn't happen again. I somehow fell asleep eventually after that. The next day, I went straight to Best Buy with my brother, and he helped me pick out a doorbell camera and a security camera set. He helped me install both of them, the doorbell camera in the front and the other cameras in the back, both in low-key spots. My brother also spent the night that night to make me feel better. He slept in the guest bedroom. We were both in our own beds trying to sleep when I got an alert on my phone, motion detected on my property. I opened the Ring app and I screamed because there was someone in the black and white video trying to pick the lock to the back door of my house.
Let me just
I
check
woke up my brother and showed him the video, and he burst out of the bed and without shoes or socks on, ran out into the backyard ready to kill someone. But my scream chased the person away, which we saw while playing the video back. My brother screamed outside my yard to never come back as loud as he could, and undoubtedly, the person trying to break in heard it. We couldn't identify the man's face. He had a hood over his head and was wearing all dark clothing, but not in a single frame could we see his face. He was also wearing gloves, which meant he left no fingerprints. We called the police, even knowing there wasn't much they could do. It just felt like we needed to have them come to keep a lookout. After that night, nothing similar ever happened again. Not to toot my own horn, but I am on the more attractive side, and what really scares me is the possibility that this was someone who knew who I am, a young single woman living alone in a house. It makes me wonder if it's possible that this was someone who lives on my street, one of my neighbors. I guess I'll never know. When my mom and dad divorced, my mom got 2 of the 5 houses that my dad owned. My dad owns a very successful real estate company, so we have or had places basically everywhere. I'm 23 years old, so I really just stay wherever I want, but I usually stay at one of my mom's houses now because I'm closer with her.
Bloons? Sorry about that.
Many weeks
normally I would read the message right away. Welcome, Louis.
I'm used to having the house to myself more often than not.
running
The
on 4
setup
hours
in
to
the
sleep.
main
I'm
house
sorry.
is a kitchen, living room, and 2 bedrooms
Fascinating.
upstairs, and then the same thing on the first floor,
Lunio.
and then a basement. My bedroom is in the upstairs.
I'm just gonna
I
call you
mainly use the kitchen and
Lunalation
living room up there too,
666.
while my mom
Yeah,
uses the
Luna.
downstairs for
Luna?
herself.
Yeah.
It's a nice
It's
setup.
like your name reminds you of the word Luna.
The house
like
has 3 entrances, a front,
Means,
back, and a side entrance.
moon.
The side entrance leads out to where all the
I'm so
garbage
done.
cans and such
So like,
are.
I was just
usually
checking
go
my
out that door when
emails.
taking out the
Like
trash.
an important
Anyway,
coming in.
the story really
Like-
begins when I started noticing a lot
Why
of my
does
clothes
Droid Cam
were
always
missing.
do this shit?
I'd
Hold up,
call my
hold up.
mom anytime this happened if she wasn't
Yeah,
home.
welcome.
And
And how
ask
was
if
your
she'd
day, by the
moved
way?
anything out of my clothing
I'm playing
baskets.
Bloons.
Usually she'd say no, since we live in separate
Playing on
floors of
the
the house.
Scary map.
But even this couple of weeks that I was
Carved,
home alone, an extended period of time, I was noticing some of my favorite shirts were missing.
Well, fuck.
My room is usually pretty messy, admittedly, but even after digging through everything,
No, like, I'll tell you also. I don't know who steals my fucking socks. Every time I go to wash my shit, and then, like, say I don't get back to it, all my socks end up being missing. I was just playing balloons, just barely. I'm not good, though. That's fine. What was I gonna say? Oh, wait, yeah, let me continue my story. So,
I couldn't find a
I
bunch
would
of
always lose
specific
my
pieces
socks,
of
and it's
clothing.
because my mom,
It made no sense. I
gets
even
them for
resorted
whatever
to
reason.
checking my car and the downstairs in my mom's room. Nothing.
Right, yeah.
I came up with the idea that maybe one of my friends or multiple friends took my clothes for whatever reason, or more realistically, that they'd eventually just come up on their own. And
Dude, I wish I had friends that, like, I could fit in their clothes or something like that. I don't know. I feel like that would be, like, cool.
just left it at that.
But,
When
like,
I'm alone,
what was I
sleep
gonna say?
with the
I
door
was always
cracked
with,
open,
like,
just so
the
I could
tall
hear
one.
if, God forbid,
And, like,
someone
I
were
would
trying to
always
break
need,
in.
like, extra large shirts.
I was
Like, that
watching a
shirt
movie on my
shrunk
laptop
to, like,
when my bedroom
I
door
did, like, a
suddenly
large
shut.
size.
It didn't
Maybe
slam,
it
but
already,
it didn't
was a
exactly
large size. I
close
don't know.
softly
It's so
either.
small.
I had the ceiling fan
Fuck.
on and both windows.
It's just 'cause, like, I'm, like,
so
a large
I thought maybe it was
person.
a draft. It does sometimes happen.
Partly I say that
But
because,
then I
like,
heard something from
I
outside
never
my
could
bedroom
fit in,
down
like, the
in the
smallest
hall.
clothes.
My
Not that
reaction
there's, like,
isn't exactly
anything
what most people would do while
good
home
with fitting in,
alone.
like, small
I
clothes.
got out of bed and ran to the door and opened it. The hallway light was off. I turned it
Yeah.
on, then walked towards the living room, and there was no one sitting on the couch or anything nightmarish like that. I wasn't satisfied yet, though. I went downstairs to my mom's floor.
And yeah,
and
I'm
looked
gonna
around
be listening to
in
scary
her
stories,
rooms,
maybe.
kitchen, and living room.
Depends on how many.
But then I noticed the
I just don't
basement
want
door
this
ajar.
VOD to be like
The
copyright
light switch
struck
for
or
the
like
basement is right
on
atop the
YouTube
stairs.
it says
It's
like
a string you pull
copyright.
down. I went down into the basement, the relatively unused basement. There's just a couch, TV,
thank God I
a
don't
few
have a
workout
basement.
machines, and a small room with a punching bag down there. There's also 4 doors that lead to closets, and a smaller door you have to crouch down into to get into the
That's a lot of closets.
little crawl space type closet. Neither my mom nor I really go down there at all. I caught through my peripheral vision. The little door to the crawl space closet moved just a little bit. My heart literally dropped.
There's so many stories with the crawl space closet being like used by like squatters and stuff, ghosts being in there, you know, animals and stuff like that, and it's just
But
crazy.
I approached it just a little bit. I stopped and now felt like my heart just completely stopped as well when an arm came out from the darkness of the little closet and pulled the door ever so lightly
Jesus
shut.
Christ.
I quietly but quickly went back up the stairs, wanting to run and be out of this house. I called 911 first thing and reported that there was a stranger in my
try to get
house.
sharpshooter.
Thank God I was quiet about leaving the basement and didn't give
Yeah.
away the fact that I saw. The police showed up with their lights on, but not their sirens.
They're gonna find like a
All
knife.
4 of them came down to the basement with me, and they ordered the person in the closet out. The door slowly opened, and there was a bald, 50-something-year-old man with a nose too small for his squished-looking face. He had his hands up, and he was wearing one of my shirts.
Oh my
In
God.
fact, inside of the crawl-in closet
Oh, wow.
were a number of my mom and I's belongings. mostly
Oh, it's just this
clothing.
game mode is
The whole
different. I
closet
forgot.
smelled like
Oh
piss,
no.
Which begged the question how long he'd been there. Since there was no visible damage in the house other than piss stains, but several of our belongings were found in his possession, he was charged
Yo,
with
that's
3rd-degree burglary.
nasty.
Somehow that's it. My mom and I obviously didn't want any of the clothes that gross creep wore back. I blame myself for most likely leaving the side door unlocked one night after taking out the trash. I learned my
Don't blame
lesson.
yourself.
Lock the doors. The idea that someone could be in your house, even living in it at any moment because of an unlocked door, should not be taken lightly.
Yeah. Who you should be blaming is the person that took the action to go into your house. Like, sure, you could have maybe, like, done a little bit more prevention, Like, that's not a lot. So if they wanted entry to your house, they would have just broken in anyways. It's been a while. Let's hear this one. It's a roommate story. Mr. Nightmare from 4 years ago at this point, right? Yeah, 2019. A long time
When I was
ago.
22, I got a job in New York City. Living in Jersey, however, there was no way I'd be able to do that commute daily, so moving was a necessity. Only thing, I didn't have a lot of money yet, so when I saw an ad on Craigslist for an available bedroom in an apartment in the Hell's Kitchen area for a really low price, I jumped on it.
Hell's Kitchen? Okay.
I took a ride to the city the next day to view the apartment, and the landlord gave me a quick tour of the place. The landlord himself seemed a bit socially awkward, but that didn't really matter at all.
Dude, I feel like I'm socially awkward.
I'd have a roommate. The landlord
Just
said
a
he's
little
a very
bit.
quiet, to himself kind of person, which he said was good. My roommate's name would be Bren. The landlord knocked on Bren's door, asking if he'd like to come out and say hello.
His name would be?
Bren didn't even.
Don't you mean like his name was
answer.
or is?
The landlord suggested he might be
Would
taking a nap.
Like,
So
yes,
we
he had
moved
to
on
be
talk
born?
in
Like,
the
what?
living room, where I said I was interested in renting.
It's funny.
I signed an application, and the next day, the landlord
Scary
called and
though.
offered me the room. So I moved in the next week.
We
My
gotta
dad
listen to
helped
ghost
me
stories
unload
though,
all
for
my
sure.
furniture
Not
into
like
my
the
little room.
terrifying ones.
Something odd to note was that never once did this Bren character come out during all this commotion to at least say hi. He was definitely home. We heard him moving around in his room. I came to the early realization that he probably wasn't going to be friendly at all.
Oof.
When we finished unloading the van, my dad left and I was alone, officially moved out. I sat in my bed and started watching Netflix on my laptop. Then I heard the door to Bren's room open and close. This seemed like my chance to go out and say hi. It was his first time leaving his room. I got out of my bed, but before I could even get to my bedroom door, the front door to the apartment slammed shut. I stepped outside to the living room, and no one was there. I didn't know what the deal with this Bren guy was, but surely he had to know we'd have to meet
We're
eventually.
gonna do like some spontaneous like
I went back to
thing.
my room, ate a bowl of ramen, and went to sleep. I woke up when I heard the front door to the apartment close again. Then footsteps followed. The footsteps on the creaky wood floor made their way to the outside of my door, then stopped. I sat up and looked at the crack below the door. The outlines of feet could be seen through the
Oh my
light creeping in
God.
under the door.
Dude, oh my god. That's how every night, that's how my door looks like. Like, it's because like something like what's it called? Like the bottom part of the door, because like there's like a little flap, right? It's like fucked up. So that's why it looks like that. Because like I've like been like, oh shit, something behind there. Open the door and then there's like nobody there. Right?
Why was he just standing out there like a creep?
Yeah.
Of course, I didn't say anything. I just waited for him to walk away. I didn't have my door locked, and I was low-key terrified of him entering my room. But thankfully, he walked away from my door and back to his room, and I heard him shut his door. I tried to go to sleep, but all night, all I heard were thumps coming from his room. I had no idea what he could possibly be doing. I was tempted to go knock on his door and tell him to keep it down, but I hadn't even met the guy yet, so I had to deal with it. Eventually, I fell asleep, and when I woke up in the morning, it seemed Bren was out already, maybe at work. I didn't know at the time. I spent most of that day shopping for groceries and basic apartment necessities. When I got back, I dropped all the bags on the couch in the living room to give myself a rest.
It's just like,
I cooked dinner, watched some Netflix on the couch. All the while, Bren never came home.
Oh.
I did a quick run to the nearby 7-Eleven to get toothpaste, and when I got back, I noticed Bren's door was cracked open and the light was on. So I figured this was it, the moment for me to say hello. I went to his door, knocked lightly twice, then pushed the door open. What I found in there was shocking. Or maybe I should say what I didn't find in there. The room was completely empty. Not a single piece of furniture, except for a single chair sitting in the corner of the room. A kind of chair you'd find in a high school classroom. My heart suddenly started racing and I started to shake. I turned off the light in that room and shut the door. Could this Bren person have been in the process of moving out? I went to my room, locked the door, and sat on my bed, suddenly getting a really bad headache. I took out my phone and decided to call the landlord to ask him what the hell was going on. After dialing his number, I put the phone to my ear and suddenly heard a loud ringing sound coming from my closet. I felt like my heart, which was already racing, was now in my stomach. The phone rang twice, then went to voicemail. I got out from the bed, ready to open the closet, but I stopped and realized that given that the phone rang twice, that means he had his phone and he declined the call. I had the sick realization that the landlord was likely in my closet, and there never even was a Bren. I ran to the bathroom, locked myself in, and called the cops. They got to the apartment shortly and searched the whole apartment with me. Sure enough, we found the landlord hiding under my bed.
That is
I tried pressing charges for trespassing,
that is insane.
trying to get myself out of the lease, but it turned out there never even was a lease. The dude wasn't even an actual landlord. He didn't even own the apartment. I didn't get the rest of the story, like how he got the keys in the first place. I had my dad come the next day to help me move all my stuff back home. I found another apartment the next week, and it was a huge hassle going through the whole moving process again. I knew from the start the so-called landlord gave off bad vibes, but who would have ever imagined the events that were about to take place?
Yeah. Yeah, we're fine. It's gonna crash into
There was
the
an ad on
spikes.
Zillow for a shared apartment near the chicken farm I worked at. I moved in because it was convenient and already furnished. I just dropped off my clothes and a mini dresser, and I already had a bed to sleep in the spare room. The man who was renting the room out to
Stores
me
are gonna be
was
insane.
like 70 or something, and his name was Ben. It was a non-contractual
Oh my God.
agreement, meaning I'd pay
Ben
him by the
drowned.
week,
I'm just kidding.
but he was more or less still a roommate. He was very old-fashioned, and that included everything in
Oh
the
my
house.
God, attitude and all.
I've never exactly come from a wealthy family, so trust me when I say this was a steal for me. One night after getting home from a long day of work, I collapsed into bed and fell asleep like a baby. But suddenly, I awoke to the bedroom door opening. Light poured into the room from the hallway.
That nasty
Standing
sound.
in the doorway was the old man,
My sister's
Ben,
house
with his hand
has
on the
doors
doorknob.
that make that noise, and it's just like the worst
He
sound
said in
ever.
his deep, hoarse voice, "Stay out of the basement."
Huh?
He said he knew I went down there. I defended myself and assured him I didn't, because I actually didn't. He shut the door, and I heard him walk downstairs. I sat there thinking this guy must be unstable or something.
I would think the same
The
thing,
next
honestly.
day, I was off from work. Ben took his old jalopy down the road. I'm guessing to the store. While I was alone, I stared at the basement door. I knew it was the basement door because I'd seen him go down there before. I went to open it just to
So
peek
we want
downstairs.
monkey intelligence,
And obviously, it was pitch black.
because I think
down
we'll
there.
just like decimate everything.
I would have never been compelled to go down there if it weren't for his bizarre remark about not going down there. But
Yeah,
I figured
usually
he wasn't going to be home anytime
That ends
soon,
up happening.
so I continued down.
Reverse psychology.
I found the light switch at the
Some
bottom
people
step.
do that to like actually lure people
For some
there,
reason.
and it's like scary.
It was for the most part a normal
Like
basement so
insane.
far, but there was a door in the corner. Behind that door was something unimaginable. The door was very hard to open because there was some rubber concealer under the door. I'm guessing to keep that awful smell out of the rest of the basement and house.
Oh, what
The
the
inside of this little room was a nightmare. Bloodstains on the concrete floor, black bags stacked in the corner of the room,
Oh my
stretched long enough
God.
to be carrying bodies or body parts. And the smell of rotting life. I had to refrain from puking right there.
What
I
the
noticed a camera
fuck is
hung
up
in the
with these
top right corner
stories?
of the room, aimed down at some workbench. I took a quick picture of the room and hurried out of there. I went up to the spare bedroom, packed all of my clothes in a garbage bag, and heard the front door slam shut downstairs. He was back. I played it cool and greeted him from the upstairs hallway. He didn't respond. I heard him open the basement door and stomp downstairs. I saw that as my cue to sprint to my car. I made it to my car and without looking back, drove away from there. I drove 15 miles back to my brother's farm and showed him the picture. He said I was an idiot for not calling the sheriff sooner. So I called 911 and told them to bring a search warrant to Ben's address and check the basement before he could clear it out. I made it clear I was simply his temporary roommate or tenant living with him and came across it. A few hours later, someone from the sheriff's department came to my brother's farm asking for my ID and some other information. I complied with them. They gave me the relieving news that Ben had been arrested. He was in the process of clearing any evidence from his basement, but he wasn't quick enough. The deputies didn't go into much detail about what exactly they found in those bags or anything else, but I don't think they were allowed to. They thanked me and went on their way. My brother let me stay with him for a few weeks, till I was ready to get back out.
I don't know why I
and find
wanted to get
another
that
apartment.
upgrade. It already happened. Yeah, what a gruesome fucking story. It's insane.
I'm not sure how
What
many
the
of you went to
fuck?
college, but for those of you who did, you most likely remember that feeling of walking into your dorm for the first time, meeting your roommate, the person you're supposed to ideally be friends with for the next 4 years. I certainly remember mine.
I have never had a roommate. Because I've been living with my parents. Luckily, near my college.
I walked into my dorm for the first time, and there was my roommate. He
At
had
least like
fair
40
skin,
minutes
black
away.
hair, glasses, and a slightly feminine tone in his voice. There was nothing wrong with any of that, but to me, he just immediately struck me as the gaming type, which was not exactly someone who I was going to vibe with easily.
Gaming
From the
type, like
moment
what
I
does
shook
that
his
mean?
hand and he gave me a dead fish handshake, I was a little put off.
Dead fish?
I'll call him John for the purpose of this story.
This.
I left the room to go say hi to the other
What
kids
is
on the
this?
floor and meet as many people as possible.
Oh
I
shit!
instantly vibed with some of the other kids more than I did with John.
This is
Anyway,
the
that
old,
first night consisted of a lot of unpacking and hanging around in
Dream
the
Gear
room.
stuff that I had.
So I did try to get to know John a little bit. It wasn't that he was a mean person, it was just he didn't seem to really know how to converse. I would ask him questions about himself, and he'd give me one-word responses, or responses that barely even made sense. He even went to bed really early, shutting off his lamp at like 10 o'clock. No one had classes the next day, so I just found it odd. I put headphones in and watched videos on my phone until around 12.
Okay,
Then I went
trust me, I am totally that guy that would go to sleep at 10 in the night just to wake up early or even late the next day. Just because I value my fucking beauty sleep. I need beauty sleep is my motto. Yeah.
to sleep. The next morning, a few of the guys on my floor and I went to the dining hall together. When I got back to my room, I noticed my duffel bag was moved.
Uh-oh.
I looked at John, who was sitting on his bed. Then I went to go through my bag to see if anything was missing. I couldn't find what it
not
was,
good.
but my bag just seemed lighter. I straight up accused John of going through my bag, and he denied it with a very aggressive tone. What could I do, though? I didn't have cameras in the room, so I couldn't prove it. The next night, I tried inviting John out with me and a couple of the other kids from the floor.
Uh-huh.
He didn't want to go, claiming he was trying to stay on top of his work as soon as possible. So I went out, and when I got back, John was fast asleep. It was kind of late, so I just went straight to bed too.
Oh,
It started to rain pretty heavy outside. A storm was in the forecast.
yeah.
I woke up in the middle of the night
Just
hearing
like my
thunder
fucking-
crashing.
Where I
I was
live.
too comfortable in the
Oh,
wind to
no!
roll over and look outside. But even with my eyes closed, I was noticing the constant flashing from the lightning. If anything, it actually helped put me back to sleep. The next morning, I woke up and
over,
my
it's
backpack was
over.
open and moved. I didn't accuse John this time. I decided I was going to stay up
It's
that night
over.
and wait, listen to what he was doing. So after a long rainy day, night came, as did the time for me to hit the hay. I stayed on my phone for a long time, listening to the rain outside the window. Around 1 or 2 a.m., I flipped on my side and pretended to be asleep. I did this for a long time, and eventually I started noticing the flashes again. 2 or 3, actually.
Oh, it's not ready anymore.
I turned to my other side and saw John sitting upright in his bed. I only caught a glimpse of him quickly putting down his arms as I flipped over. Suddenly all those flashes made sense. It wasn't lightning. It was him taking pictures of me. I played dumb and said, "What are you doing?"
Welcome Toxic Banana 2666. What is it with people coming into my chat having 666 at the end of their name? Like, what the fuck? Like, there's nothing like wrong with that number, right? But like, it's like, what the fuck? It's like, the previous person that came into the chat was called, it's Lumial, excuse me, I keep on saying station. Lumial, Lation? 666. And it was like, it was so weird. Thank you for following, by the way. I'm just listening to scary stories because it was raining earlier. It's not a scary stream though. I usually have one plan per month. But I was also listening to like scary music. Oh yeah, it's gonna be raining. What do you mean Bible thumb? Actually, can you explain why that emote is used? Is it just used like as a sad thing?
Sleep. The next day, I told the other kids on the floor about it.
Like, I see it sometimes, and it's, I don't know. Sometimes I'm like,
they said
are they using it for like?
I agreed with
some
them.
people just use it to like mock others or something.
At whatever point I went back to the room,
Yeah, there's all
John was actually gone for
Twitch
once.
emotes.
I couldn't believe it. His laptop was also on his bed with the lid cracked open.
Ew! Oh my god, what the fuck?
I was too curious. I opened the laptop.
There's no good fucking facts.
It was littered full of folders, programs, and images.
Huh?
It was the messiest desktop I've ever seen.
Oh my god, my desktop is not messy.
I started opening the random pictures on his desktop. Most of them were weird. But then I got to the disturbing
I'm allergic to the emotes.
Pictures of me.
Oh my god.
Upon opening one of them, I realized it was a picture of me in bed, taken with an iPhone with a flash. He had stored all the pictures he'd taken of me on his computer. He even had pictures of my duffel bag and the inside of my backpack. I took a video of the laptop screen, then deleted every picture I could find from his computer and closed his laptop. I went straight to the hall that dealt with dorm life and showed them the video. I requested a new roommate immediately. I don't know how John was disciplined by the school, but I was going to be given a new room across campus the next day.
Nice.
However, on my last night with John, I couldn't sleep at all. I heard the springs under his mattress kinking as he got up from his bed at some odd hour in the night. Then silence. Silence until I heard a short, quiet exhale come from right above my bed. He was standing over my bed. I just knew it. But I was just simply too afraid to turn around. Less than a minute later, I heard the springs under his mattress again, and the rest of the night was silence. I was out first thing in the morning. My new roommate was like a breath of fresh air, a normal guy.
Oh my god, thank god, thank god.
It's a little creepy knowing that John Kid still has all those pictures of me sleeping on his phone. I don't know what his goal with those pictures were. I don't know why he just stood over my bed like that the last night I was there. I don't know why he went through my bed.
That is pretty uncomfortable.
The kid was an insane creep, and I'm happy I got away from him. When I moved out from home, my dad's friend Kathy was subletting her apartment with 2 bedrooms. She said she'd give me a good deal. However, I'd have to share it with some older woman she found.
So,
she was tight on money, so I understood.
What's the best strategy to go about this?
Her name was Betty. She was like 60
guy,
years old. It felt weird knowing I'd have a roommate who could almost be my grandma. Since Kathy was subletting the apartment, it already had furniture. I just had to bring my own bed and
see, that's funny. Having a grandma as your
The
roommate.
weirdness started on the second night. I was watching TV in the living room when Betty's head appeared from behind the wall to the hallway, and she stared at me intently.
Can I join? I'm playing by myself at the moment.
Noises.
But maybe I'll let it open
okay?
to multiplayer to 11.
She groaned and disappeared back into the hallway.
Oh.
I immediately got on the phone with
Don't
Kathy.
Tell me she's gonna be like suffering from like
dementia
or something.
Kathy said there was nothing wrong with her as far as she knew, though she only met her a week ago. When I told her about what Kathy just did, she was surprised.
Good for you guys.
The next day, I ran into Kathy cooking eggs in the kitchen.
Baby rage.
She said good morning.
Dude, I have a lot of baby rage. Holy fuck.
She seemed confused what I was referring to, and I mentioned the way she was staring at me and making those noises.
What the fuck?
She claimed she had no recollection of it. All I could chalk it up to in my head was some kind of psychotic break.
Isn't that like the gist of like what was that new Paranormal Activity music? Fucking like, or was it Paranormal Activity? I'm gonna let myself lose. It's like a horror movie from like last year. No, not the Ghost Dimension. It was like this somewhere like it's like a cult or something. Where they go to like some grandma's house and they see the grandpa and stuff, and they like start acting all fucking weird because they're part of like this cult. That's what the story reminds me of. I really do not remember the fucking its name. Wait, what did I do with the? Oh, there we go.
Fast forwarding through normal, unnecessary fluff, I was laying in my bed on my laptop with the light off. There was a knock at my bedroom door. I muted my laptop and heard the same moaning and groaning sounds of Betty from the night before. Quite frankly, I was uncomfortable with going out there, but this confirmed that something was definitely wrong with this woman.
Yeah.
She kept knocking. It wouldn't stop. But the door was unlocked. If something was really wrong, I figured she'd come in. I really think the knocking and moaning went on for a full minute before I heard her walk away. It seemed these little episodes of hers would only happen at night. I almost wanted to be able to lock the door because it was kind of creepy, actually. But the door had no lock.
Ooh, fuck.
But she left, so I was okay to go to sleep now. I woke up expecting it to be like 9 a.m., but it was pitch black. I looked at my clock, and it was 1:30 a.m. What I was woken up by became clear when there was a creak in the floor in the room. I saw a figure standing at the edge of my bed in the dark. "Becky?" I said. I heard the familiar groaning sounds again. I flipped on the lamp next to my bed, and there she was. This 60-something-year-old woman, with her long graying hair all disheveled, looking like a half-awake psycho. But really, the first thing I noticed was the large knife in her hand.
What the
I screamed a horrific scream as I curled up in the corner of my bed, expecting her to attack or do something. But she just kept making her strange sounds. Then she left the room. I ran to shut the door and block it with the dresser. I tried calling Kathy, but she was obviously asleep. I had to make it through the night, and it was a long 6 hours before the sun came up. I called Kathy at 8 and explained everything. And then I told her she needed to evict Betty immediately. She couldn't believe it, but she still apologized and said she'd be over that day. Kathy came to speak to Betty. She couldn't just evict her right away without a notice, though, and the eviction process takes months.
Yeah.
So Kathy told me it was best if I just left the apartment and found somewhere else to live while she dealt with Betty. Betty apologized and said she had no recollection of any of this stuff happening. After Kathy and I did some research, we determined Betty most likely had a severe case of sundowning syndrome, which causes people to become confused or aggressive late in the day when the sun goes down. It's really terrifying knowing in whatever confused...
Is that an actual thing? I've like barely heard of it. Maybe like years ago, and even then it was like a really like done. Fuck, I cannot spell. Syndrome. Yeah, we're gonna lose right now. Sundowning can cause different pacing or wondering sometimes. What is it then? Oh, it's just like an action? Okay. Or rather a symptom. Worse. I didn't think that.
State of mind she was in. She likely had the intention of coming into my room and stabbing me for whatever reason.
BuzzFeed Unsolved? Would this one even be good?
These are true stories based on submissions from the BuzzFeed Unsolved network audience.
Cool, let's listen to
These
that.
are their encounters.
Let's go with double HP mobs. That's easier.
One night when I was in 7th grade, I had two friends sleeping over, and we were in my basement. My brother, who was around 7 at the time, had bought himself a new Furby and got bored of it after a few weeks. Then it sat untouched in the basement closet.
Holy
As
fuck,
you may
he's
know,
speaking so
Furbies
fast.
sometimes begin to talk when they are moved, yet they
Let's
only
listen to
speak
that.
gibberish, not English. This night, it was around 4 a.m., and we had all the lights out, and it was silent.
Look how drunk he
We
sounds.
were laying down to go to bed, and out of nowhere, we hear this Furby's voice say, "Come play with me." And then it laughed. At the time, I didn't know it didn't
See,
speak
I
English,
told you guys
so
I
we wrote it
wasn't
off
kidding
and went
around
to
when
bed.
I said
To
Furbies
my
are like
horror, in the morning when I checked on it, not only does it not speak English, it also had no batteries.
Oh my god. Oh, these are gonna be like 40, 30 seconds.
I was a freshman in college in the Philippines. It was late at night, and my friends and I were on our way home after watching a play at one of the campus theaters. As we were nearing the College of Education building, I looked up to the sky and saw a woman jump from the topmost floor. I told my friends, and we ran over to the front lawn of the building to help the woman. But when we got there, she was gone. The guard came rushing over to us because I was so loud about it. My friends didn't see her because I was the only one who felt the urge to look up. The guard helped calm me down from nearest area, then told me that I must have seen the ghost of a woman who had jumped to her death from that building years ago, because it was the anniversary of her death.
Oh fuck. Let me see my.
In 2015, I went on a trip to DC for the
now
4th
I
of
got a
July with my
notification,
family.
but it's,
This was our
stupid
second trip to
power
DC,
outage.
so we decided to take the last day of our trip, the 4th of July, to go visit Mount Vernon, George Washington State in Virginia. It was the middle of the day, scorching hot, and there was absolutely no air conditioning in the house, aside from a few fans, placed sparingly.
Now I'm back.
I'm a huge history buff, so I was very excited about touring the home and knew a lot about George Washington and his state previously. So I knew that he passed away in his bedroom in 1799, but that's definitely not what I was thinking about when our tour guide led our group upstairs to see said bedroom. His bedroom had a lot of really delicate artifacts in it, so we weren't allowed to go inside, and there were little plastic barriers preventing us from doing so, but you could stick your head into the room and look around. For some reason, I was the only one in the group who decided to take a look. When I stuck my head into the room, I was immediately struck by how absolutely freezing cold it was in there. And I don't mean that there was a light breeze.
Power outage,
It was
how the
as if I
fuck
had
are you
stuck the upper half of my
texting?
body into a walk-in freezer. I was confused by this because there didn't seem to be any air conditioning in the room. So I looked around to try to see if there was any fan or AC unit that I just wasn't noticing. But I didn't see one. I decided to take my head out of the room and ask our tour guide why it was so cold in there. But then I realized that I couldn't move. I was paralyzed from the waist up. Every part of my body that was in the room was completely stuck in place. I struggled to pull myself out, but couldn't. I started to panic and tried to open my mouth to call for help. But when I opened my mouth, no sound came out. All of a sudden, from the other side of the room, where there was a little piece of furniture, a mirror, and a water basin, probably where Washington washed his face and shaved in the morning, I felt what I can describe as nothing other than a pair of eyes staring at me, almost like the sensation of someone staring at you while you sleep. I didn't see a figure or anything, but I felt this huge and intimidating presence walk towards me and stare me down. It was horrifying, and I physically could not tell you how much time passed in that moment, because it really felt like it could have been an hour, but I guess it was only a few seconds. After a while, I finally broke free from my paralysis and almost fell backwards onto my bed.
Paralysis
My
usually
mom
is
asked
an
me what
hour.
was wrong, and I told her that I wanted to.
A few minutes.
She didn't believe me when I told her the story later, but it still scares me to this day. When I was around 8 or 9 years old, my mom told me to go to bed early on a summer night. So I threw a fit and began screaming at my mom, "I hate you." My mom always told me never to go to bed angry, because the devil can possess you and steal you. After slamming my bedroom door shut,
That's
I
something
turned
my
off
mom
the
would
lights and
say.
laid down. It was near midnight, and I was still
Devil
angry.
would say.
Suddenly, I heard tapping by my door. I had chills run up my arms. Then I heard a voice call to me. It sounded like my brother's voice, but he was calling me a nickname my mom used for me. I figured it was my brother, so I started yelling at him to go away. The voice taunted me with the nickname until my mom ran to the room and turned on the lights. "What are you yelling at?" I sat up and noticed she was the only person in my room. I told her my brother came into my room and started calling my name. She looked pale. "Your brother is sound asleep in my room." It was exactly 12 a.m. on the clock when my mom walked into my room, and it was freezing even though my window was closed and the AC was turned off. There was something in my room that night. And to this day, nobody in my family understands what happened. All I know is that I'll never go to bed angry ever again. Last year, I went to the coast of Rhode Island for my cousin's wedding. We were just a few miles from the Lizzie Borden house. We get to the wedding venue, and it's this old, big, creepy-looking mansion.
Nice beat.
Immediately, my spooky senses were tingling. I made a few offhanded comments about how it seemed like this would be a place that was haunted, but within a few minutes, I was distracted by the festivities, and all thoughts of ghosts escaped my mind. The wedding was out behind the mansion, where we could see the water, so everyone had moved from inside to the back lawn. All afternoon, my cousin and my aunts had me grab things for them. Eventually, one of them asked me to get a hair clip she had left in the dressing room area. The dressing room area was in the upstairs part of the mansion. Only people in the wedding party were allowed access up there. As I ascended the red velvet spiral staircase, the spooky feeling started coming back to me. Suddenly, I felt like every portrait on the walls were watching my every move. As I went into the dressing room, I decided I would just grab the hair clip and run. I walked to the large table and found the clip. As I was getting ready to run out of the room, I saw my reflection in the mirror on the other side of the room. My hair had gotten all messed up from running around, so I stopped to fix it. As I was standing facing the mirror with my back to the open door of the room, I saw what looked like the form of a person standing in the door just over my shoulder. Frozen, I stare at the white figure of a person in the mirror for a few seconds. Quickly regaining my composure, I turned around and looked at the door. No one was there. I swear that I had just seen an old white gentleman. I couldn't make out the clothes he was wearing, but I definitely knew that no one in the wedding party looked like him, since we are an Asian family. So if it was a random guest, they wouldn't have been allowed to go upstairs where I was. While I was standing, looking around in confusion and mild fear, the door to the bathroom began shaking and banging, like someone was locked in there and they were trying to get out. Thinking it was just a bridesmaid that was stuck in the bathroom. Most doors were creaky and jammed frequently. I went and easily opened the door. No one was inside the small bathroom. Scared out of my wits, I made a run for it. In my fancy dress and 6-inch heels, I ran back down the red velvet spiral stairs and didn't look back until I was outside. Later that night, the bride's hairstylist told me he saw the same apparition of a man just minutes before I did.
Oh my god. Cool story. Cool story. But let's put the music back on. What's the scary music? What if what if I double the speed? I wonder what this song is. No, no more notifications. Oh my fucking god. It's reading, right? Like fucking, no more notifications for read. Oh my god, look at how it's like, oh, fuck that face. That's cursed face. And I'm back. Dun 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 bum 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 bum. Dun 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 bum 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 bum. Bum 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 bum. Anyhow, let's listen to the cover. This is Battle Against the Machine, Mother Tomb. 2015 by Brothers Nylon. Dun 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 dun. Oh my god. Bum 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 bum. Dun 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 dun. Yeah, we need like a monkey here for sure. But we did horrible. Or we can just get aircraft carrier. That'll suffice. Wait, wrong one. There we go. When does that part start? Right now? There we go. God, that area is so freaking cool. I wish there was like more to the Formidable Pikmin 3. I believe the Pikmin 3, I forget what it's called, Deluxe, adds a little bit more to the story. Like, I mean, like, a little bit. Formidable Oak is supposed to be like, you know, the representation of culmination of desert. And how hollow, you know, I guess like exploration can be, and like expeditions, right? Expeditions involves like the search for something, right? We're gonna try to get the carrier flagship. Song gets louder and louder. Closer, plasm rate gets. That's the music, Oliver gets caught. Oh crap, okay, that was really close. Okay, good, good, good. Oh. We need carrier flagships soon. Did we get more range? No. We're doing more attack wise. Oh my god, it's like, no, like yesterday, like I said, I only fell asleep for 4 hours, but the reason why I only fell asleep for 4 hours, my math class for Calculus 3 must have traumatized me or something. I kept on falling asleep. No, rather, the dream or thought that I had while I was sleeping was vector math. You gotta do vector math. Vectors, vectors, vectors. That's what my mind kept on repeating the whole fucking night. I have no fucking clue why. And I'm bringing this up because I only slept like 4 hours, right? And it was so fucking weird because I didn't have homework due that day. I did it like the day before, basically, and like it was insane. I don't know. I just want to bring that up. It's like this song is like haunting in the sense that like it's pretty samey and there's like weird noises and stuff. But like seriously though, like I don't know what's up with that. Like, hopefully tonight I just fall asleep and have like a good night's rest, right? So I'm probably gonna end. I got 11. Oh my god, it's like hurting right here. Not like here. Like right here? No, like lower. Like you guys can't see it basically. You know, a fun fact for anybody who's played Pikmin 3 or doesn't know this, or anybody that's a Pikmin fan. The last level, the last area in Pikmin 1 has like a pretty fun theme, and it's present in this in Pikmin 3. A little bit of it is in the track called Formidable Rainfall. Well, I can't get there. That's pretty much it for the track. Here's the pick one track. Wait, is it just me or does it actually hold up? And Waker. What the theme is? Okay, let me just search up Wind Waker. Which one is it? Outside island, inside a house, worker's house. No, not that one. On the portrait wheel. Alright, is this one? No. No, which one is it? No. There's like a theme that plays. Yeah, it's this one. He's called My Grandma then. Something like that, right? Am I right? No, never mind. I'm fucking wrong. I don't know. Chances are I'm gonna end up losing. Should I know? I don't want to live it off. No, my arms. Oh wait, no, yeah. This is from the mosquito bites. This is the bite. This is from the me being right here, right? Oh, it's like a nerve. Okay, I think I have to end. Like, what is this called? Cubital, tunnel syndrome. Not an aching pain. Oh yeah, right there. Yeah, that's what it is. It's the I saw Leaning your elbow for long periods of time can cause and put pressure on the nerve. It's ulnar nerve entrapment at the elbow, cubital tunnel syndrome. I definitely have that. Because it's fucking firing off. So yeah, I end it here for today. So thank you all so much for coming by. Good night, good day, whatever it is, and yeah, I'll be back tomorrow with PC. And yeah, good night, everybody. Bye.